What up, y'all? GM. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Avatar. Make sure, if you haven't already, go pick yourself up a founder key. Support the show. Without metaSKINZ and the founder keys and everything that we do, this show definitely would not be happening. So appreciate every one of you that has already picked one up. And if you haven't already, go grab one and let me know you did so I can say thank you. Today, though, we have a very special guest, the one and only Shakesbeer here in the house. I'm fiddling with my mic because it won't stay still. What up, Shakesbeer? How are you?
Hey, Krafter, doing well, and thanks for having me on. It's definitely an honor, and I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of fun things to chat about.
As always, I think we definitely will. Let me switch screens here so we can get a better view of your beautiful mug. For those of you that haven't seen a face reveal of Shakesbeer, I don't know who has. We have maybe is it the first time? I don't know. What is this?
Um, there's a clip on my channel where I turned on my camera briefly because my cat jumped up and was grabbing me around the neck, and then just like my time. And so there's a short clip, and I think that was probably the one time, at least in this realm, shall we say, that I've had the camera on.
Right, yeah.
It's not like I've never been on cam publicly before.
Well, cool. It's a pleasure. I love face reveals. I've had a few, not on this show specifically, but on other shows that I was just randomly doing. So it's always fun, and I think it's fun for all of us to see the actual. That's the whole idea behind the show.
Yeah,
Not specifically to see the person, but it's a fun part of it just to put a face to a name.
yeah.
And I mean your profile picture is you though, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I feel like
It's
I
just
feel like I see your face when I'm on social media.
yeah, yeah. And I did that on purpose too, especially once I came out with some of the different projects I got going on right now. So that way it's like, you know, 'cause I often say that like the age of Satoshis is gone in the Web3 world. It's like everyone wants to know who they're dealing with now.
Yes.
And so yeah, I felt it was important. And it's kind of just noticing everyone in the chat right now. Great seeing a lot of our familiar buddies saying hi right now.
Yes. Hell yeah. I'm glad you're paying attention to the chat. I'm so bad at paying attention to the chat. You guys know that. But yeah, what up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. I see some familiar names. I recognize all of y'all. How we doing?
They're saying I'm a little low. Let me see if I can bump me up a little bit because I do have my, yeah, because of course I do a regular stream, and I have my configuration one way, and then now
Uh
when I'm doing this with the camera, it's a little different. So I need to adjust a little bit. Oh, I have a helicopter going over my head. Well,
I have I have you in the yellow. I don't know if
okay.
that
This is the audience. I'm just so used to looking at what people are saying because like I said, I'm streaming almost every day. And so it's like, hey, you're a little low. So I'm like, oh no, we can't have that. I can bump me up a little bit. Let's see. How is that? We'll see if that's any better. Um, but
you sound a little
but
louder
yeah,
on my end, so you're probably louder.
okay. Um, so yeah, like I was saying, it's just it's really fun to be able to kind of actually see each other in these instances where we're doing interviews too, and I think this is definitely probably going to be like the longest time I've been on cam in this
Yeah.
on a sandbox matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I think it is super important um for faces to be out there because like you said, the Satoshi age is definitely come and gone. Where I mean, you still see it happen, where
Yeah.
people are buying into things that they have no idea who's putting them out. But I think long term potential, like you almost are gonna have to know who the people are behind things. Otherwise, I mean, it's just I don't know. I don't know. I go back and forth between it too. It's like at the same time, if you're putting out good shit, I really don't care who you are, but I do care who you are because I want to support people that I know and
Yeah.
actually like. So I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy, but it is the world that we live in right now. But anyways, we get to see your face and we know who you are, so that's all that really matters today. But let's see. Where okay, let's just start with a little origin story. I always like to start with just
Okay,
like a
sure.
little origin story. So,
Yeah.
just kind of give us a little background of who you are and how you kind of got to what you're doing now, and fill us in on what you're doing now a little bit too.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, of course, and my actual name is Jerry. So everyone knows me as Shakesbeer, OG Shakespeare, or whatever. But feel free to call me Jerry too. Um, and I guess in terms of if we go back far enough where it's relevant, I actually had worked quite many years in the professional art realm, doing a lot of different production for different types of businesses. So I'd be a contractor doing things like logos and websites or brochures, any kind of graphics they really kind of needed. And then along with some kind of strategy related to like how you're going to apply those. Usually, because sometimes what ended up happening is I ended up working for a lot of small to mid-sized companies who had enough money where they needed to expand into their their look, their brand, or everything, but didn't necessarily have enough yet to kind of have someone in house all the time for a salary. And so that tended to be where I ended up filling that sort of gap until they're able to get to that point. And so I made all kinds of things in terms of that over the years. And then also, while doing that, at one point I was doing actual 3D models, like physical models of movie prop replicas with a partner of mine. So I learned how to do 3D fabrication and mold making and all that stuff like that too.
Cool.
And so just in general, kind of knowing how to make things that also from time to time I'd be doing contract work for that. And so because people need something made on that same level, and so I make it for them.
Yeah.
And in the background, um, what because I've always been very much into science and just wonders of the world, shall I say. And so in the background I would do different research. And so in more recent years, my time had been devoted towards this invention that happened. I actually have 2 patents on a type of thing that helps engines run better, basically. It hasn't taken off in terms of money. I don't have no money on that yet, um, but that did take quite a bit of my time. And now then we kind of get here more to recent history. As we know, COVID happened, and then there was a lot of shutdowns. And so just because of the things involved, like with mailing, for instance, so like I was unable to get things out to people who are interested. Couldn't really work in that space anymore. I was also doing different types of metaphysical counseling with my wife at local community centers and stuff like that. Those shut down. Couldn't do
Yeah.
any of that. And then so basically at that point, I'm kind of looking around, trying to regroup, thinking like, what can I do that is a little more recession proof, right? And I've been into cryptocurrency for a little while. I mean, kind of not necessarily, it didn't jump in hardcore. It took X amount of years for me to kind of get into where I'm at right now. But like by the time that the COVID happened, that was pretty much that shift to where I was getting more hardcore anyways. And so I'm like, well, okay, let me look into the crypto world and the crypto space, see what I can do to maybe make something happen there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and this was just kind of like an inspiration. I was thinking, I'm like, someone has to be doing virtual real estate. The thought just kind of came to me. I'm like, someone has to be doing it. It has to be kind of early. And so who's doing this? And so first I found Decentraland, and I was
Yep.
like, holy crap! Like that 10 by 10 plot is worth how much? Like what the whole? Okay, and I'm like thinking, okay, someone else is probably doing this and isn't quite as far and probably doesn't cost quite as much. And so enter the sandbox.
Yes.
And so I found the sandbox like a good while ago now. I mean, like when I first found them, for instance, you can get land for $50 on OpenSea. Um, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is pretty sweet, relatively cheap. So really started looking into it at that point and getting into it, and then I saw like how well it was organized, like the being in business and like being especially with that like from a business for myself for so long as an artist, and then being in other dealing with bigger entities because of the invention thing. I kind of saw like what they had involved, and I was like, they have a really good model, like a really good business model. And one of the things that really attracted me too was the at the end user level in terms of like who's going to be your content creators. So like the marketplace itself. really impressed me with like what they were proposing they wanted to do, which was actually allow artists to keep most of the money. and
Right. Right.
and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And so I definitely checked it out and was just watching. And I'm like, yeah, I think when this opens up, I'll mess with it. And so at that point, I got the software and just started poking around at Vox Edit and Game Maker, and it was about it wasn't that many months later. It was like I noticed that they had a regular stream, and so I'm all check this out and see what's going on. And this is where I'd heard Joseph and Alex talk about the Creator Fund, and
Mm-hmm.
they're saying like, oh yeah, you can maybe get paid to do some of these things, which are essentially kind of like testing out the marketplace and getting paid for it and being able to keep the proceeds. I'm like, oh, yeah, because once again, like it was still middle of COVID. There's only
Yeah.
so much you can do.
Right. It's perfect timing.
And in that sense, yeah. And so what I did is I just went ahead and put together a very basic examples of some box edit stuff that I can do. I think I did like maybe 5 models or something, and and ironically enough, one was a mushroom, and so and then a couple other things, and then I just submitted my portfolio at the time, with the rest of my professional work, and then so from there, they contacted me back, and the process started from there. So and that was okay. That would have been, I guess it'll be 2 years come September or something like
2 years in
that.
September. That's
Like
awesome.
2 years in September, yeah. Um, and yeah, it's been a fun experience. I mean, it really has, the Creator Fund in general, let alone like everything else that's now snowballed in the space. But I remember I share a lot of times with people like how when I was doing the Creator Fund, I first did the Creator Fund tryouts. Like I kind of figured like there's this little indicator that kind of told me like, yeah, you're gonna want to do this more. Is because you have these 5 items that they try you out on, and this is pretty standard in the Creator Fund. And so when I was done with those 5 items, and you have to wait to see if they're going to approve you or not, I remember like feeling kind of bummed. I'm like, I have no assignments here, and it was so like I don't even remember the last time I kind of felt like oh wow, that project's over. Yeah, and yeah, this is this on the screen right now is an example of one of the things they tell you, they have you do a workstation, and so I did a chemistry workstation, um, and and yeah, I wanted to have fun with the animations, so that was one of the things with this one is
I
I
love the
really do enjoy
animations in this
animating.
one. Yeah,
Mhm.
you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've even talking with Touche recently, I told him like ultimately a lot of my passions do lie in the animation part. A good model is part of a good animation, but
Right.
love doing the animations. and so then of course I was accepted in, and obviously also would be talking about being in it, and but but yeah, and it was cool because then from there it's been really interesting because we can, like I tell people, like it's not exactly like we're doing our own project at all, like because you do have, there's certain guidelines that you have to follow. um there's there's certain time considerations that have to go into things, so it's all a lot of different things to consider when in the Creator Fund versus like I'm going to nurture my own project. And I guess, and now of course like I guess it's like a recruiting only basis,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's the word on the street that I've been getting. Is that yeah, it's just like a recruited position at this point, yeah. But yeah.
yeah, which yeah, and yeah, because it has evolved, and like stuff that I've seen so far, it is getting prepared for UGC. So I mean, it's not necessarily beans, but it's like,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, from what I can see, like yeah, it is getting closer. I mean, there's stuff that's even changed for us on the back end that kind of in prep for it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they just opened up a few days ago. They opened up so not you can't mint it, but you can now anyone can publish. So like I feel like that's a step in the right direction.
absolutely.
Like we're definitely getting to that point. And I know I'm sure some of you listening, and I know lots of people are very I don't know if anxious is the right word, but there's a lot of people that are really ready for the UGC to open up
Mhm.
and be available to everyone, and just know it's coming. Like there's a lot. I don't know what has to go on behind the scenes, but I would imagine there's quite a bit that needs to get ironed out before they can just open it up to anyone. Like I don't. One thing, and maybe you have insight, maybe you don't, or maybe you can't talk about it. But one thing that I've been curious about is. Um, how are they going to would it be monitor or like make sure make sure that there isn't like things in the marketplace that shouldn't be in the marketplace? Like
Yeah.
that's one thing that I've always been curious about, and maybe it's just
Mhm.
I don't know. What is your take on that?
So far from my understanding, okay, in the beginning, it's probably going to be a little bit more moderated in terms of the submissions. So there's probably going to be more humans that are going to be overlooking when it first opens. And there's indicators that I've heard that's no official anything, but it's from there's indicators that lead me to believe that certain accounts will probably get access first. So like for instance, like those who are marked artists back already or have some stuff, they might find that their account has been okay to mint.
Right.
Um, and then from there, it's going to be a user governed system to where at one point you're going to be able to submit, like, say, if you see something, if you see someone who totally blatantly made a Pikachu and they're
Right.
trying to sell it, you can submit a report on that, and it's going to cost a little bit of sand. That's a copy,
That's
and so
smart
when these
to cost
and
a little bit of sand,
yeah,
otherwise people are gonna flag everything. Yeah.
And if it's found to be in violation of terms of service, then there is kind of like a bounty that's given to
Sure.
that report.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm curious to see how that works. I think it'll probably be okay. I mean, I think a lot of communities that certain terms of service stuff is can be an issue. I think a lot of them do a pretty good job in self-regulating, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this one will be too.
Yeah, it's
And
an interesting um I don't know, like the scenario situation to tackle as far as like being in this Web3 decentralized space. Like it's the like line between like moderation slash censorship is weird because it's like you don't want it, like you don't want to like censor people, like that's kind of the whole idea.
yeah,
But at the same time, like there has to be something, and like you said, if it's like a blatant copy of like a Pikachu or something, like one, you're probably better off getting it taken down by Sandbox than Pokemon coming after you,
Nintendo, yeah,
like
yeah,
or yeah,
Nintendo actually
Nintendo
coming at you, yeah,
or whoever
um,
it is. But I was, but
yeah,
yeah, like that's they're doing you a service more than a disservice in the long run. um, but yeah, that it will be.
yeah.
It is a very interesting, just like situation to be tackling. So I feel for them. I feel like there's going to be a lot of, a lot of interesting scenarios that come by that they're going to
Oh
have to
yeah,
have to deal with. But um, it's I don't know. It's gonna be we're in the Wild West, y'all. Like there's definitely gonna be some fun things and some weird things and who knows things, but it's all part of the process, and it's just gonna be fun to watch it play out. Um,
definitely.
so and I take notes along the way, so
Mm,
that's what
yeah,
I'm looking at.
yeah, no worries.
Um, one thing that stuck out to me that I wanted to circle back to
Mhm.
was you mentioned this, and this is one of the main reasons that kind of piqued my interest with the sandbox and caught my attention was the fact that the UGC marketplace is going to allow creators to keep um, a nice percentage of what they put out on the marketplace. I for whatever reason I am blanking on it, or I feel like it's been a while since I've even researched like what all the numbers are. But do you know off the top of your head what the, or is it even out there? Maybe that's why I don't know the number. But what the percentage is of the cut that Sandbox is going to take versus what the creator will get?
Yeah, it's Sandbox is only taking 5%.
Five. Okay.
So Yeah, and even with the creator fund, that we get everything. Like we're not sharing the sales with Sandbox other than the 5% fee that everyone pays for a transaction. Um, so that's what's cool too. I mean, even though like there is some tokens up front for doing it each month, but it's minimal. Like it's not even what you get paid on an average sort of side gig to build something for somebody. It's less than that.
Yeah.
But um but you're also getting the full sale when it goes in. You're not paying to mint it. We're not paying for the gems and catalysts. So,
Mm.
so like how you see the arcade item there, for instance. Like
Yeah.
I didn't pay any money for like it wasn't. I didn't have to use my Ethereum to mint that. And then yeah, the gems and catalysts kind of just magically fell into my wallet, and I'm like, ooh, those numbers do change. Whoa. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
I think all of us see we have the readout there on our dashboard. And then yeah, with when you mint something, what ends up happening, because I'm sure a lot of people are curious about that and seeing. And with this, I minted it. You know what I mean? Like they tell us the process and like, here's the resources to do so, and here it is. And so what happens at one point, there'll be a different place on the dashboard that you can go for the items that it goes to minting. So like how right now it says request minting, eventually that will go somewhere. and
Yeah.
and and what happens is from that point it asks you what do you want to mint, what catalyst do you want to use, and how many gems do you want to use. So you kind of fill in the spot where it says like, okay, this was a oh my god, I think this is a common item. So I think it just has the one gem. And in this instance, the catalyst would be common, and then the gem I used was a luck gem. And so you select those, and then what happens is you go with the transaction, kind of like as if you were going to do like maybe even like a founder key mint. I mean, a very similar process in the sense that you're handing over some tokens, and this will be a little different. Was that you're also going to be burning the NFTs. So you burn the catalyst and the gems, and in a sense, the pre-published token of your item, and then it becomes this new one, which is now minted on there. So each
Uh-huh.
of all the gems and catalysts ultimately get burned.
Right.
So that
That
yeah.
makes sense. And it just gets written into the metadata, but it has those on
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, that's cool. I was always kind of curious how the minting process worked.
Yeah.
I figured it would be something like that. So yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure people have been curious. So it's cool that
Yeah.
somebody should clip that. We got a little clip of how the minting goes because you explained it really well. Um, what
Yeah, and then also, oh, just real quick, and then
yeah,
also like once it's minted, you don't necessarily have to sell it either. Like there's a whole other then you can list it for sale. So like and obviously for the creator fund stuff that was also there. So just keep in mind that there's a couple of transaction fees which are going to be super minimal when it goes to Matic. By the time it
right.
goes to Matic, it's probably going to cost you like a whopping like 50 cents to mint something. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep.
So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I see in the comments, and I was gonna follow up with this as well because I honestly don't really have a very good grasp around this. So maybe you can fill
mhm.
us all in. What like on the gyms and catalyst situation? Like what is that? What do you know about it?
Okay. Yeah, with gems and catalysts are essentially what is going to give some of your items added attributes. Now it's not necessary. So like that's one thing too. Don't worry. I know some people are worried that they don't have land, so it's going to be hard for them to get gems and catalysts. You don't necessarily have to gems and catalysts up your items. And like how my colleague Voxel Blaze often points out, once the game goes live, you're going to be able to change a lot of the attributes of all of your items anyways. So you don't even necessarily need the gems and catalysts on anything. You can eventually kind of do it into the game maker. So just
Hmm.
something to keep in mind. Um, but like the catalyst, for instance, is going to be how many gems can be placed on that item. So a common catalyst is one gem going up to four with legendary, and then the gems themselves. There's the different ones. So you got defense, power, speed, and luck, and magic. And with those different attributes do different things on different types of different types of assets. Because like for instance,
Sure.
like magic, like it helps you heal if you're a healer. So like the healer might be able to heal really fast, but then if you put the magic gem on, let's say like a bird, that changes how high they can go up and down.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then mhm. and
Or I've seen Cody's
yeah,
Tempest Studios things,
Epic
whatever
Studios.
those are called. They have gyms on it that like change what they do in different ways, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah, and like because for instance, luck is one that's used often on behind the scenes kind of assets because the luck dictates how big
The
your detection
radius.
range is.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
Yep.
so you can have larger detect radiuses and stuff like that. Although fine point though, it's probably better to have multiple detectors than it is to have one big large one.
Uh-huh.
Game Maker handles multiple better than like huge areas. Just a little
Sure.
tip. So,
That's good to
um,
know.
yeah. Yeah, so you think it's let me just try to cover this whole thing with the void. You're almost better off doing a bunch of different little voids because sometimes it's like it's weird. It's like there actually is almost like a travel time or a ping in the game, and like Half Dork will even talk about this on his stream too, where it's like there it does seem to be like an actual milliseconds cycle on some of these things, and so sometimes when you have things too big or across the map, it's almost like there's also like a signal strength or something. I'm not even sure how exactly it's done,
Yeah.
but it's almost like it doesn't reach over there in time enough to do certain things. Like say if you're cheering back over this way, so it's almost like everything gets broken because you need to give it a certain time. But if you had a bunch of little ones, little detectors, they'll like shoot across that
That could
a lot
relay it or
quicker.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, there's so many game maker tips out there that I think that's just gonna be a forever thing. Maybe not forever thing. Maybe everything will get ironed out eventually.
Probably.
But yeah,
well,
it's one of
well, yeah,
those
because there's going to
things.
be more and more updates. Because like how I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but like of course we have 07 coming pretty soon, and from my understanding, 7 might not wow a lot of people's socks off yet, but 7.5 and 8 is going to
Uh huh.
a
Uh
little bit,
huh.
but like, there's more to it.
Yeah.
But I'm
What?
just looking forward to presets. So.
Yeah. Presets. Yes, I know that's talk of the town. Is that something that is in 7 or do you?
But that
Yeah.
one's supposed to be in the 7, yeah.
Yeah.
And like how I often joke, I say I was there in the long ago, in the faraway times when presets were still there,
Uh huh.
and there was scale too on box edit. Like there used to be able to scale your voxels, um, but it
I don't
became
know
it
if I
just caused
remember
too many
that,
issues.
but yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. I
yeah. I start messing with it right when scale was being deprecated, but um, but I do
Oh, maybe
remember the
I do
preset.
remember that, and I would always fuck things up when I was trying to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
which
why I
is
was
it's
starting
probably a
out.
good reason why it went away. But yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, because what you said you've been September, so almost going up to two
Almost
years. So
finished. Yeah.
you've seen a lot of changes that have gone on with Fox Edit
Hmm.
and the Game Maker. Did you dive into Game Maker right away, or were you mainly focused on Vox Edit there for a while?
I did both pretty much.
Yeah.
Now I have to admit though, once I got into the Game Maker Fund, and then they got rid of the presets, it did demotivate me for a while. So I actually would only just go in and check my assets, like because you should check your assets
Right.
when you make them, pull them into the maker, and just because the render is different, you have more frames, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good to do. So besides that, it's mostly did that for a while until I forgot what it was. There was one of the updates where I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm just gonna go back and poke at it some more. Um,
Hmm.
and so I got a little more into it, and I would just try little things like little functions more than I would make games for a while. Just because there wasn't any like specific games I had in mind that I wanted to make, but I definitely wanted to kind of play with certain mechanics. You know what I mean? Like launchers or just or even just basic stuff like fun with platforms.
Right.
Maybe I don't know.
Right.
Um, and then but then Vox Edit was obviously what a lot of my tasks were on in terms of with the sandbox specifically.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's been a fair amount of changes, and and yeah, things break and you have to adjust, and that's just part of it. It's kind of like you can never kind of hold off long enough for it to be fixed. You just kind of have to know how to fix it and just be confident with that
Yeah.
when the so
Yeah, it's
that's all you can
it's a
do.
never-ending process, and
Mhm.
Voxel Blaze, he gave a good tip that like if updates are breaking your game and your game isn't really gonna be used until like a certain update, like for instance, like if it's gonna be in the alpha or something, like
Mhm.
don't keep updating things until like along the way. Just wait until the update comes that it's gonna be needed to be updated in. So I don't know if anyone's building something that is in that
Mhm.
state, but you probably if you're preparing for that, you probably already understand that. But that was just a good tip that I got from him, and
Yeah, I can
I
see
was like,
that
that's smart because otherwise you literally could just be updating your game 24/7 probably.
all the
Um,
time. Yeah, because there's always little tiny updates. And actually, point of trivia: Voxel Blaze was my team leader in the Creator Fund for a while.
oh, cool.
Uh, yeah. So it was, and yeah, it was an enjoyable time, and it happened to be like right. Like okay, then I knew he was gone at one point, man. I was just like, oh, this guy's gonna leave because he had him and his team won a game jam. They had won a game jam a little bit before too, but
Uh-huh.
then he also was getting heavy into the gutter cats and such at the same time. And so then and then gutter cats blew up and they won another game jam. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's gone. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, okay, my stuff is getting too busy for me. I can't do it anymore. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But and then it's been fun to loop back around though professionally and kind of end up working together again. Right now, helping mod with their newly made Discord channel.
Oh yeah, did
Um,
that open up?
yes, it is open,
Nice.
and then we're also and I'm also jumping on the stream with them from time to time. So it's pretty fun because they like to keep things moving and shaking on the stream. So there's a lot of wisecracks
Yeah.
and just funny humor on the show. They don't take things too serious, but
No,
they
yeah.
do.
I
We'll
love
show
them.
building tips at the same time on some of these things. So
Yeah.
really fun thing.
Yeah. No, yeah,
And
they're great. I really enjoyed talking to the I don't know if you got if you didn't catch it, I don't know if
yeah,
it's still up on Twitch, but I am going to upload the interview with them and you and other ones that I have backlogged to YouTube eventually so that anyone that's
oh,
listening can catch those. I because that was a fun interview with them. Um
yeah, they're fun guys
but yeah,
in general.
that was we were at a good segue to you said that you didn't really have any games that you particularly um like were wanting to make at the time when you started dabbling in Game Maker, but from word on the street is you have been dabbling with some games. Is there anything that you wanna fill us in on as far as that goes now?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, there's quite a few different games, and I would say that you know when I really got back into it more regularly was when a group they're called Collectix. They do a type of ticket system. They're looking for someone to help them bring stuff into the metaverse too. And it was just around the time where the sports game jam was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I made a fun little kind of like layup kind of basketball scenario mixed with some of the trivia that was going on there. So it was like a mini trivia thing going on. And ever since that, like it just seemed like more and more game maker stuff was required. So at this point, like there's actually I should go back and fix this one. As one of the updates, speaking of, broke my scoreboard, and I had a scoreboard where I did an actual 3 point contest and things like that with
Yeah.
5 stations and 60 seconds to do all as many as you can. Um, and then and then in the background, there's been some more. There's been the pro game jams, and then also starting to work on the concept to translate the Huddle Arcade to the sandbox too.
Mm-hmm.
So Huddle Arcade being a play to earn arcade, basically. It's gonna be tandem with the sandbox, but then also its own sort of native platform to where you can pretty much the goal is to be able to use most major cryptos to be able to get the tokens to be able to play some games,
Sure.
get some tokens back, prizes, things like that. And the sandbox is a big part of it because a lot of those we use the sandbox to do for a lot of the prizes. that people can win in terms of NFTs.
Cool.
So that figured that'd be kind of cool. Same thing with Decentraland, whatever metaverses are in swing. You know what I mean, because it's
Right.
really about the nurturing the space as a whole. You know what I mean,
Yes.
because it is so new. It's in our interest to be very cooperative, not like there can be only one. You know what
A hundred
I mean?
percent. I agree on that.
Yeah, and so and then of course there's the GMAE game jam that we have a community team that we're working on right now, and that one is, I mean, not like any of these are like have ever been like cutthroat. I don't think in terms of my entries. I know I never went in with that kind of attitude. So, but like this one is what we're trying to do is really kind of celebrate all of us here right now. Honestly, like everyone who's on stream and who hangs out and chat,
Yeah.
and how they told we have to use the 11 models. Well, we got more because we know that there's more of us out there.
Uh-huh.
um and we want to work everyone into the lore that's going on, and kind of have it be a fun sort of intro, kind of, and so doing some of the stuff that we like doing in the sandbox. I mean, some of us like parkouring, some of us like the hack and slash.
Right.
So it'll be a little bit of
Yeah.
both.
No, that's awesome. That's super cool. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with because I know you guys have been working hard on it, and there's a few different groups that are working hard on some games for this one. So it's gonna be fun to see what everyone puts together. Um,
Yeah.
it is.
Man, I like how this one has like a very very friendly competition kind of vibe to it. I think everyone's kind of is thinking along those same lines of, here's our chance to sort of showcase our friends, and I think that that's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean that really is what the Sand Fam to me has turned into. Is really just a lot of people just being here and supporting, and like I see all you guys in the chat. I'm trying to keep up, but it's hard to communicate with you guys in the chat whenever we're having a conversation. But know that I'm reading them, and what's up everyone? What's up Brad Condad and Vox Machina and whoever else has been in here. Gold, I see. Go West, Pickaxe Masters, all you guys, VVox, what up? But yeah, now I lost my train of thought. That's why I didn't. That's why I don't do that because then I lose my train of thought. But you guys know if you've watched my stream, I'm very all over the place whenever I'm communicating with the chat because my OCD or ODD or whatever the hell you call it kicks in. Yeah. So where was my train of thought going? I don't really know, but that doesn't really matter. Oh, Hodl Arcade. So is that something that is active like right now? Are people able to play any games or anything like that, or is this thing still in the works?
It's still in the works, and this is, if everything goes as planned, this might be submitted for a game maker fund project too. um, just because it's, it's going to be very well integrated with the sandbox anyways, and I can see how there's ways to essentially sort of have a character navigate a part of an arcade or an arcade and then go up to a console, try to play it, and then kind of be in another game scenario. I think there's even been some game jams where people have kind of did something similar where there's different like sort of arcade games, and when they went to go start this game, that teleports them somewhere else, and the view is kind of locked.
Yeah.
And so similar in that sense. But ultimately, the actual arcade is going to be on its own platform and be able to do things that honestly a sandbox just can't do because it's sandbox with voxels. Um, there's going to be just like classic games made in that sense too, with
Right.
high
Yeah.
polys and or detailed sprites, or stuff like
Hmm.
that. um and I do think that in the future that sandbox will probably even evolve to get more high res, because as we're seeing that as systems are getting more and more robust, there'll be more um what's called voxels that the systems can handle, and so that would make it more plausible to do even bigger lands in terms of like linked together at once. So let's say like 5 years from now, like we might be able to have like bigger, those big districts might be linked, for instance.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
and
I think that what they're doing right now is smart in my opinion because it makes it accessible to a lot more people. Like you still need a decent system to run the game itself, but not like anything high end. Like I know people that run them on like MacBooks and stuff, and it works. So um
Yeah,
like I think it's smart right now, but like you're saying, like as technology just advanced and everyone has a fucking gaming laptop in their pocket, like we're just gonna see things advance in the gaming industry as well. So I think that's not too far-fetched to think that things would get more high res and more detailed and everything as we go. At least
yeah.
that's my belief anyways. I
I mean,
mean,
yeah, especially when they're saying that one of the next platforms it's going to be ported to is going to be mobile, and I do have a little bit of programming background too. Like I'm not like great at C sharp, but I know my way around,
sure.
and I do know Unity as a tool, and like how another partner and I have actually created an Android app before, and so kind of knowing what it's like to kind of do that throughput, and like kind of knowing that there now the sandbox is going to go through that same compiler. This means that there's almost certainly going to be a lot of optimization on all the other versions because they're going to have to talk to each other in certain ways when it comes to some of that geometry. And
Uh-huh.
so I'd imagine by the time that mobile sandbox comes out, the PC and Mac version is probably going to be even more stable and probably be able to use it on even lower specs,
Right,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense because I don't have any any technological knowledge around like what it takes to make things on an app on a phone. But like that makes sense that if people are able to play this stuff on their phone, that if you are playing it on a laptop, like that experience would be even better. I would think.
Yeah.
Or just smoother, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to me personally that it would be a mobile experience because
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like something that I would want to use mobile for. But
I mean,
but
I can understand that.
but I don't know. Like, but I'm also like I'm a millennial, but I'm like an older millennial. So I use all the technology. I know all the technology, but I don't like play games on my phone or anything. Like I just like gaming is for computers and Xboxes and
For
PlayStations.
consoles.
Like why you want to play it on the small fucking screen when you can play it on your big screen with surround sound? But I don't know. That's just me. But yeah. So I guess I don't know. I feel weird.
Yeah, I see I definitely see where you're coming from, and I think that if we have an option, yeah, we're gonna want to play on a big screen. But like, I think when it comes down to just straight business, like, not, there's more phones than anything else,
True.
and so that's just the bottom line. Is
Yeah.
just that's why they want to do it because it's like there's millions of more, and then this
It's
is where the other
exposure.
thing is like, yeah, and how where the next thing. It's not even going to be like launchers. Most people are probably going to want to run through your web browser because our web browsers now are capable of being a type of launcher slash portal anyways, and you can kind of if done right, you can just use that instead of any kind of launcher. And
Right.
same thing with like phones, everyone has the browser already. And so no one has to download any new app, none of that stuff. So a lot of people are going that way. And honestly, that's where I'm going with the Holo Arcade too. Like, so I'm not going to have an app,
Uh-huh.
especially not initially. There might be one later as more of a promotional thing for sake of ease and whatever. But initially, it's going to be if you can get to the internet, you can go to this arcade. And so that's pretty much what I think that they're trying to do with the sandbox too, with the mobile. Once it gets mobile, like how even in the chat, the optimization is going to be a must. And so, what some of these different cross-platform communication tools, it'll make it more possible. And in that sense, like you never know, like there, it's just going to get probably way more optimized from there. Um, so we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
But
Do you think that's a good point, Bjorn. Both of your comments there, I was reading them. That it definitely is going to whenever it goes mobile, like that's a huge reach, and definitely a great way to at least intro people into the sandbox, and then maybe they'll go play it on their desktop or whatever. But
yeah,
do you think that it'll ever end up on a console?
I
What?
believe that's also part of the roadmap.
Yeah. Okay.
It's after mobile, but they do want to get it on consoles, and I'm guessing that's probably going to be like probably Xbox and PlayStation first,
Right.
because because I mean Nintendo is very proprietary, and then
Yeah.
plus they're based out of Japan. There's already issues with Sandbox in Japan.
Yeah.
Um, you think that there might not they go for the low hanging fruit, which in this case would probably be Xbox.
Xbox probably,
Um,
right? Yeah.
yeah, because of the Windows tie-in. Although Sony stuff does tie in pretty well with Windows automatically. I guess like you can pretty much just plug in a PlayStation controller to your computer too, and it'll work just fine. Um, so it's all kind of going that way in terms of cross-platforming, intermingling, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think
Because
that's
yeah, uh
it's definitely like that. I didn't know that they were like. I mean, I like I said, I haven't looked very much into what the long term vision of Sandbox is for a while. But it would make sense to be on console, just like mobile. There's a lot of people that you could get exposure to that are solely playing on Xbox or whatever, that like the Minecraft community. And I mean, a lot of Minecrafters are also on desktop, but
yeah,
but yeah, like there's a lot of them that only play on Xbox. And can you play
yeah.
Minecraft on PlayStation, or is it just
I
Xbox?
think
And
that might just be Xbox.
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure on that, but
but
it make a lot of sense because I mean, like how we're saying, you have the mobile phone, which has varying degrees of hardware capacity, and then the next step up would be like the consoles, and that's one of the things that consoles can do is you can get this 500-ish dollar item that will perform pretty well in terms of graphics. You don't have to spend like the 1,000 plus like you do with the PC to get like the more high end kind of performance. So it does kind of offer that like that full spectrum of demographic, and then too like how a lot of us in the West, for instance, like we have more than one device, and we'll have our PC set up in our work area, but then we'll have the console set up in the living room. And theoretically, you would be able to kind of play a sandbox on either one at one
right.
point.
Yeah,
Um,
ideally.
mhm. Yeah, and you see you can figure that that's kind of what every publisher would love for you to do, right? Go from one room
Yeah.
to another playing their
Right. So
stuff.
you're still playing our thing. And when
Yeah.
you're out in the car taking a road trip, you're in the back seat playing our game. And and yeah, so no, yeah. I mean, it all makes sense from a business perspective to have it as many places as you can. And it's cool that it will be able to be optimized so that it can be all of those places. And I don't know, it that fact alone is one of the reasons now that I'm thinking about it that makes me even more bullish on what the sandbox is doing, just because
Yeah.
it is like, I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends that aren't very exposed to this world, whenever I show them stuff that I'm doing with Vox Edit and the sandbox in general, they look at it and they're like, well, you could just play Minecraft. But they don't like Minecraft because it sucks to them because the graphics aren't good. And it's like, yeah, like I get that, but like we're discussing, you'll be able to play it all everywhere. Like it gives you a huge reach whenever your graphics aren't insane. So
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of funny how Bill Gates is like all talking crap on NFTs, and it's like, yeah, because it's like, yeah, the Minecraft, obviously Sandbox is the Minecraft's competitor.
mm-hmm.
um and it's funny because it's not like an either or scenario. You know what I'm saying? I think people
Right.
make everything into such an either or scenario. It's like, why wouldn't, if you're so into it, just do both, man, shut up. but
Right.
but like how, and what I'm finding is that with a lot of gamers in particular, because let's just be straight up, a lot of people who are really hardcore into games are usually males. They're usually
Mm-hmm.
younger males, and younger males tend to think they know everything already. And so,
True.
um, so you get a lot of younger males think they know everything already. Um, and they're so stuck in that, like, oh, Xbox is better, PlayStation is better, PC is better. um well, how about like what is yours and what is like kind of implied yours? Okay, like everything in Minecraft is implied to be yours. It's not though. because you can
Mm-hmm.
get banned and it's all gone.
Right.
Okay. And it's an extreme example, but you know that this is the difference in this world that I explained to everyone. Like, who are like, "Oh, why is matter in this?" Oh, my cat. I don't know if you guys heard that, but he's he wants his attention. but like I explained, it's like you actually own your stuff in this, and usually the more rational minds will get that. They'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. That's actually a lot better." Than I'm like, "Yeah, it is a lot better." Hold on, let me check this quick.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
like he was just announcing his presence. A lot of
so,
times he does that. My stream knows that sound. He gets up on his stool there. And he's just like, "Hey,
I'm
hey!"
here.
And I'm like, "Hey, guy." So, but yeah, I think a lot of times when you explain to gamers that, oh yeah, you're going to own your skin for reals, and then you can sell it for actual money that doesn't violate any terms of service, that you don't have to go through some weird intermediary to do, like on a lot of these games,
Right.
because it's not necessarily condoned, um,
Yeah.
as opposed to the
That's what
blockchain.
immediately clicked in my brain. Whenever I saw Sandbox and I saw the avatars specifically, I was like, fucking that's what NFTs are for. Like obviously they're for a lot of other things too, but like the utilization of NFTs for skins in games
Yeah.
alone, like that's a great way to use the technology, because it gives you that ownership. Like I don't play League of Legends very much anymore, but
Mhm.
but I put a decent amount of money into League of Legends to get different skins, basically,
Yeah.
for like different outfits that your character could be. And what can I do with that other than, like you said, like I could sell my account or whatever to somebody, and then they could have my account if they wanted that skin, I guess. But like
Yeah.
it just makes it so much easier now that you can just go throw it on the marketplace and someone can get it.
Hmm.
And maybe like obviously not everything is going to be worth much, if anything, but there will be rare skins out there that people will want, and if there's limited amounts of them, like I could see skins being something that is a price point that will shock some people.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's just
And
it's
a lot of us are speculating that ultimately, when this all said and done, dust settles with Sandbox, that still what's going to be the highest volume of sales is going to be uncatalyzed wearables, um, and not weapons even, because
mm-hmm,
weapons aren't going to be utilized everywhere. So like we're going
right,
to have like social hubs would be a good example. And usually, like when you have those kind of social hub occasions, everyone wants to show off their duds anyway. So
yep,
um, it's going to be like a fashion show at any given social hub, let
totally,
alone just everything else. So and then next would probably come weapons and armor,
yeah,
and because there's going to be a lot more people, a lot more players than there can ever be landowners. So
true, very true.
and but at the same time, that's not to say the land building items are a flop or anything. No, it's not, because like how I often say that the draft gallery is going to be a magical freaking place.
Yeah,
From people who may not have land, or even landowners who do have land that cycled out their experience now and is just in the draft gallery. Um, so you're going to have a lot of really cool stuff that might not be on land, but it's going to be in the draft gallery, and people are still going to need their items. But ultimately, there's going to be millions and millions of players. So
yeah,
um, there's something to keep in mind. And yeah, we're all early, and kind of like speaking to a little bit of what we were talking about before in terms of the state of things. If it wasn't for Ethereum, it really is it would be open already. I mean, I remember seeing that roadmap back like 2 years ago. We should have already been UGC open right now.
right.
It technically should have happened like like the turn of the year or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
I
so,
remember. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember that as well, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
dang. Now we're waiting more.
yeah,
Is that because of the transition to Polygon? Is that like
yeah,
the main reason that
yeah,
I've always kind of
yeah,
wondered
yeah.
it, and I've also just kind of trusted that there was a reason, and they're figuring it out because they seem to continue to keep doing stuff. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah, because that's one of the things with the Polygon migration. And I'm okay that it's taking as long as it does, because one of the things like they've announced, say on the GMAE show or an Alexis show, it's the audits. it's not that the code isn't done. It's not
Hmm.
like it's the fact that now someone has to go pour over all of that
Right.
and
Which
then
is
test.
important. Uh-oh. Oh no. Am I still live, guys? I think I'm still live. We,
Uh-oh.
we lost you. Okay, you're back. At least your voice is back, and we can see Shakesbeer, little Shakesbeer avatar. Are you there? There you're
Yeah.
connecting. There we
Yeah,
go.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That's kind of weird.
Is your cat fucking with things?
No, yeah, like I don't even know. It was like Discord just decided to kind of like, I'm gonna restart things for no reason and stop. I don't know.
I got scared for a second that we're supposed to be possibly, I'm in Texas, and we possibly are going to be experiencing rolling blackouts
Uh,
because of the
mm,
it's been hot down here for a while, and
mm,
being on our own grid. Um,
okay.
not the greatest decision Texas has ever made to be on their own power grid. But whatever. But yeah, so anyways, for a second I was like, oh shit, we lost power, but then I was like, wait, everything else is on, so whatever. Well, you're
Yes. Yeah, I'm
back,
not sure.
and
Yeah.
you
Okay.
were saying, do you remember?
Let's see. What was I saying?
We were talking about the transition to Polygon.
Oh, Polygon. Yeah, because the issue right now is the audit
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, basically having someone pour over the code because I say this on my stream a lot too. It's like we might get frustrated with some of the versions of software we're using, but it's all magical stuff. I mean, like I'm not. Like I said, I'm not necessarily an expert in C# programming, but at least in knowing enough what I do and kind of seeing what's being done, it's like wow. I mean, this is like cutting edge stuff. It's all pioneering coding. Like there's a lot of framework that just didn't exist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so the people like those who are working in the sandbox as the coders are the people who are creating the framework of the future. Even
Right.
if it's not necessarily out right now, it will be. And they're one of the first ones to do this. I mean, it's like a marvel of what they're doing. I
It
mean,
really
if
it
you look
really
at,
is cool.
you know
Like
what I mean?
like
Yeah,
yeah,
amazing,
it
amazing
is.
work they're doing.
It is.
To be able to go to the marketplace, say, "Oh, I want those voxel shoes. Let me integrate it with my crypto wallet and send it right off." And then it's like we take for granted that stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like if you really kind of see what it takes to do that, it's like just awe-inspiring, honestly.
Yeah.
Like wow.
It really is. Like
Yeah.
in my very very low level understanding of coding, like just knowing what is having to go on is it's crazy. And like you said, it's cool because they really are, they're blazing their own trail, and they're making all
Hmm.
this up basically. Like they're coming up
Yeah.
with how it should work and how it will work best and everything. So we as a community, we definitely do need to give them grace, because they're doing something that hasn't been done before, and
Yeah.
it's almost like sending somebody to space for the first time. uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe not that technical, but it's still very technical, and it's something that a lot of us have no idea what's going on. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool stuff. um we hit the hour mark, and I like to keep it at an hour, but I feel like I could talk to you all night. But so that means we'll definitely have to have you on for another show, because I feel like there's
Oh.
tons more that we could talk about. But it has been a blast. One thing I want to make sure I give you the time for is, if you have anything that you would like to promote, let us know. Shill, but I hate the word shill, but just let us know where we can find you, and what you're working on, and where we can check out what's coming from the future of Shakesbeer and everything else.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It did just fly by, didn't
It,
it?
it does. It does. It's like maybe I should do a
Yeah.
2 hour show, but then I risk the possibility of having somebody boring on, where I have
Driving.
to sit on
Yeah.
the show for 2 hours with them. So we'll
Yeah.
just do multiple shows with the awesome guests,
Yeah.
which so far everyone has been awesome. So maybe I should just fucking extend it, but whatever. Anyways.
Volume 2 is always good enough. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, either way, you can find me here on Twitch as well, which is at OG Shakesbeer, and that's shakes and then beer as in the beverage. Um, and I'm also Shakesbeer on the Sandbox. You can find me there in the Creator Fund um, side on the marketplace. You'll see the arcade that we showed there if you want to see the rest of my profile. Also on Twitter, the Shakespeare. Um, and yeah, and then I do stream. I tend to stream at 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time most days. Um, and I know I'm forgetting some other stuff, but usually on my stream you'll see me. I do tend to like to showcase a lot of my colleagues' stuff, like Blaze Games, like our studios. Have the metaSKINZ logo representing on the bottom there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, because I like to get into different box making tips, different game maker tips, and then also get a chance to actually showcase some of the products that are in the marketplace because they kind of need to be demoed, and so I'm demoing a lot of them anyways. And that's kind of like where, like, say, our studios comes in, where they're like, "Hey, since you're doing it anyways,
Yeah.
let's collaborate." And so that I tend to do a lot of that on my stream, and then of course you can keep an eye out on the Creator Fund, showcases. I tend to have stuff on there. I'm in Cell 2, so if you see Team 2 there, I'll be in that one. And
Sell too.
and, and then we do have, so then like I mentioned, projects that are in the works, like the Hodl Arcade. HodlArcade.com is active. It has your essential information there. There is an item that we have, the Hodl Arcade golden tickets, which are our type of appreciation, our fan appreciation, and it also allows our fans to appreciate the project if they would like to. I often use those for giveaways, but they're going to be giving bonuses into the future the more tickets that you have. So you're going to be, if you stack them, great. This also means you're going to get airdropped multiple sandbox items that you can keep some of them, sell some of them. Um, and it does give a breakdown there of what the goal is for the Huddle Arcade. There's an update for the website due pretty soon, as well as a reveal a little bit more of who the team is. But in terms of the administrative team behind it right now, and then we're building the talent team little by little, like kind of like we are mentioning with the sandbox audit. We don't want to rush anything. We want to make sure that everything is very secure. Make sure we have the right people for the job. And but everyone's very confident on the project, so it'll be cool. And until then, just going to be building up that sandbox,
Heck,
building up, because they all go hand in hand. They work together. They're complementary. And that's kind of how I like to set up my projects in general, to be very complementary of the
uh-huh.
ecosystem it's in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great strategy, and I'm super excited to see what happens with Hodl Arcade because it just makes sense, and you sound like you got a great vision and a great team behind it, so I think things are gonna happen. Um, I have a golden ticket. I forget how I got a golden ticket, but I don't know. I don't remember. I was playing. I think I played one of the skateboarding games or something at one
Oh,
point in
okay.
time.
Oh yeah, from Nate's promotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
that was cool. That was a great game. That was a fun little game.
That was a fun game. Speaking of Nate, I see you just popped, or maybe you didn't just pop, but I'm just seeing your comments now. What up? What up, Nate? And go West. I know what OG looks like. Great interview. Thank you guys. But yeah, so that's where you can find everything that's going on in Shakespeare's world. That was a lot of different places, but mainly it's the Shakespeare, right? Or Shakespeare
Yeah,
or OG Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. Yeah,
And
yeah.
hodlarcade.com. I'll drop that in here for you. hodlarcade.com. Boom. Go get it. Cool. But yeah, like I said, thank you for coming on. What up, Half Dark? Thanks for tuning in. Vox Machina, everyone that's in the chat. Thank you guys for showing love, showing up. It's nice to have you guys in here, even though sometimes I just don't pay attention. But that's the name of the game. But
It is. It
yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and you definitely will need to come on again here shortly, and we'll just keep volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. Who knows how many volumes we'll have? Maybe we'll make the volume 420, and that'll be wild.
is.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I love you. Thank you.
yeah, cool. So thank you guys for tuning in. And that is gonna be it. Does anyone have someone that I should be raiding? Otherwise, I'm just gonna shut it down. Um, I always feel like I should raid somebody, so that's
It's nice if we can. Huh? No.
there's nothing on right now.
That's the sandbox. No.
No, I don't see anything either. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all of y'all, and have a wonderful rest of the week because it's Monday. Crazy. I was thinking I feel like it's Wednesday because I used to do these shows on Wednesday, but it's Monday. It's Monday. So happy Monday, y'all. And we'll see you guys again shortly. Peace.
Bye.